Stu here with Raid Shadow Legends. Look at this, I got a shirt on. Switch it up. So today I want to get into detail about the Assault Masteries and just offense masteries and just go over them, go into detail, see what we need, see what we don't, kind of get a better idea of what we're working with here in the Assault tree. So let's go over here in the masteries right away. Let's look at Blade, Disciple, plus 75 to attack, and then over here we have Deadly Precision, plus 5 crit. I would always get the plus 5% crit no matter what, and then go over here and get this Keen Strike for plus crit damage, because no matter what, those two will always increase your damage overall no matter what you're doing. Unless later on, for some reason, you have 105% crit with whatever in-game gear you have, and you're just like, you know what, I'm tired of having 105, I'm going to get off this and get this plus 75 attack. Because even if you have Lord Shazah, which does bombs, and bombs are based off of attack damage, just straight attack, nothing else. Even critical hit, even critical damage will not help bombs, but you still want to crit, because if he crits, he lowers the cooldown on his bombs detonation by 1 turn, then they take a turn and blow up. So no matter what, even new players, no matter what you're doing, unless your crit is so low, you don't want to worry about crit damage. It's so low, it doesn't matter. But even still, if you have 5% crit, you add this 5 more percent, and then you get this crit damage, it's still going to increase your damage overall. And you want to, because there are a lot of conditions in the game that require champions to crit. So you want to have that crit there. So I would always go crit damage. Okay, we got those two out of the way. We're down to the second tier. Heart of Glory, increased damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with full HP. Then on the other side of that, we have Grim Resolve, inflict damage inflicted by 5% when attacking with 50% HP or less. So those two are really up to you. Whatever you want to choose, if you want to choose them. If you don't choose them, it's fine too. They are situational, totally up to you. This one is Shield Breaker. This one is really good for PvP, because I don't know a lot of other places where things are going to have shields on them that we go into. Maybe 15 keeps or something like that. But dealing 25% additional damage on somebody with shields is a lot. So if somebody, you know, they spawn into PvP, they might have shield artifacts on, or if they have a Valkyrie, it's going to do counterattack and shields on. There are many ways for PvP people to have shields on, and this one is a really good one to get if you're doing PvP. Outside of PvP, it all depends on what you're running, but most cases outside of PvP, you probably do not need it. So then we have, that's all the 4 right there. So on this tree, it's really all about Keen Strike. Other ones, just depending on what you're doing, you pick, it's up to you. Now this one, single out. Increased damage inflicted to targets with less than 40% HP by 8%. This can help out a lot. If in the clan boss, if the clan boss drops below 50% HP, it gets a lot harder because it gets an infinity, depending on what champions you have to fight it. This might help you out. Of course, it has to be below 40%, so who knows? It's very situational still. In PvP, you could do more damage, but in PvP, usually you do a lot of damage anyways, so I don't know if this is going to go into play either. So again, situational, up to you whether you want to pick it or not. Then we have Life Drinker. Life Drinker gives you 5% of damage inflicted when attacking with 50% HP or less. So 5% of the damage you inflict when you're below 50% HP. Is your champion a really heavy damage dealer? Is it Skull Crown? Is it going to AoE on its skill 1? Do massive damage and get a lot of health back from this? That would, sure. But if it's not, then again, this is very situational, and it won't get you a lot of HP back. If you're hitting on a skill 1 single target and you're not an attack class, then you're not going to get a lot of life back on it, right? So it really just depends on what you're doing. I've used this before. I didn't really see a good increase unless it was somebody who did a really good AoE and did a lot of damage. So it's really up to you, depending on what champion you're using and what kind of content you're doing. If you're doing spiders and you're below this amount of life and you can hit a whole bunch of spiders, sure. If you're doing PvP and you're below 50% and you can do a lot of damage, yes, it's good to have. But again, it's not, I don't feel you need it 100%. Increased speed by 6% for each enemy killed by this champion, stacks across each round up to 18. This is a very good one. If this champion is actually killing people, it needs to get the killing blow. So whatever champion uses this has to get the killing blow. Are you killing a whole bunch of spiders, spiderlings? Then sure, use it on that champion. It will increase their speed by 18. Is it your farmer and you want to make your farmer faster just because? So right away when your farmer comes in, wave 1 knocks them all down, boom, it's got plus 18, right? You just killed everybody on the screen. That's your farmer. Now your farmer's faster for wave 2 and 3 and so on. Is this gonna help you on something like Dragons 20, Fire Knight 20, Golems 20? Probably not. You have to make sure that this champion actually gets the killing blow, and then it's just going to give them some increased speed. I don't think it's really going to be a big effect there, and it's not going to do anything for you on clan boss because there's nobody to kill. So it's still up to you and what you're doing. But as far as farmers go, or as far as a mid-game person or an early game person, I would get this. I would get this as your farmer, your slow farmer, your lifesteal farmer. I would definitely get this to increase your speed for sure as an early game, mid-game person on a lot of your champions, especially your farming champion or your main champions that are carrying everybody, just to get them extra speed, and because they're killing, you know, hopefully they're killing enemies and progressing. So that's what I have to say about that one. Ruthless Ambush. Increased damage inflicted by 8% for the first hit on each enemy. This one is very good for PvP, really good. And then it can also be good in other things in the game, depending on, again, it's the first hit on each enemy. So if there are new enemies coming out, you can still, if you're an AoEer, and I keep bringing this up only because it's somewhere where we get a lot of enemies to attack. On spiders, new spiders come in, first hit on them 8%. Okay, you're doing more damage to them. That's pretty cool. Again, situational, depending on what you have. You probably don't need it, but if you do, it's there for sure. PvP, this is the best one. If you're going and you're doing your very first hit on any of those enemies in PvP, you want to hit hard, you want to bring them down, get this one for PvP. So now we're on to tier 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on to tier 4 already. Bring it down. Increased damage inflicted by 6% when attacking targets with max HP that are higher than theirs. This is pretty much everywhere now. If you go into higher stages, 18 stage, 19 stage, 20 stages, even the waves will have higher HP than your champions, more than likely, especially the bosses. So anything, this one is good for everything. This one is good for anything PvE mainly. So anything PvE, you're going to do 6% more damage overall, which is incredible. So get this for the clan boss. Get this on your attack champions for waves, even on your support if you wanted to, just as you're going down here. But get this one for sure. It's very good to have. So that is another one that I would say it's not mandatory, but it's definitely one of the best things in here with crit damage. This one, Bring It Down, is one of the best masteries in here. So Wrath of the Slain. Increased damage inflicted by 5% for each dead ally, stacks up to 10%. Again, sorry, I keep wanting to click off of it like I just talked about it and we're done. We're not done. So Wrath of the Slain. Where would you use this? Hopefully you're not having any dead allies. Again, this is a good one to have when you're coming up in the game and you're having some of your people die and you need your guy to hit harder, especially for campaign while you're coming up in the game. Other than that, you're really not going to use this because you don't want to lose anybody in other parts of the game. You're probably not going to lose anybody on stage 50. If you're in-game player, you're not going to lose anybody on 15s for sure. You're not going to lose a lot of people on waves going through, you know, the stage 20s of things. So this really isn't beneficial. If you want to use it in PvP, if you lose a couple champions and you just want to get extra damage, again, I'll use Skull Crown as an example because she's so OP. She has an unkillable buff that she puts on herself, right, for one turn. Her friends could have died, and now she's gonna counterattack or do more damage because her friends are dead and maybe wipe everybody out. So again, it's situational. Wrath of the Slain depends on what you're doing, what you've got. And for early game, again, for early game and mid game, if you have guys dying in campaign and you're trying to farm and do things and get 3 stars, okay, use it there. It could help out. It could help you out. So where were we at? Oh, Cycle of Violence. Cycle of Violence is very good on anybody who can do a lot of damage. It doesn't matter who you are. If you can do a lot of damage, 30% of whoever you're attacking is max HP, then you have a 30% chance to lower a skill cooldown. This is a very good one to get. I think this is not the most mandatory one to get, but as you've seen so far, there's not a lot in here that we've been like, oh man, we got to get. Bring It Down is fantastic. Crit damage is fantastic. This one, again, if you can really hit hard, if you're doing spiders and AoE spiders and you're doing at least 30% of their max HP, they can get this skill. That way you can get a skill cooldown. Waves of stuff like 20 waves, it's going to be really hard for you to go in there and do 30% of somebody's damage. Not impossible. In game, sure, if you get a defense break and attack up or defense up, and depending on what the class is attacking, you can do it. It can happen. It's a great thing to have. PvP, very, very good to have. You do massive damage in PvP. So just depending on what you're doing, if you're an attack class, don't get this if you're a support or you don't do that much damage to somebody. If you're an attack class, and I mean by attack class, you could be doing damage based off of defense, you could be doing damage based off of attack, or damage based off of max HP. It doesn't matter. I just mean somebody who does a lot of damage. Sorry. So just basically anybody who can do the damage that's prescribed here. So there we go. So now we have Opportunist. Opportunist, increase your damage on stun, sleep, freeze. Only place I can see this being good to have is if you have a PvP team that is built entirely around putting somebody freeze or stunned, and that's it. Other than that, this is not this is not optimal to have at all. Do not use this because it's too situational whatsoever. If you have a perfect arena team and you're going to AoE freeze everybody and then come in there and do damage after, sure, get this. Otherwise, do not waste your time because it's so situational. I don't think it's worth actually getting. So we're almost to the bottom tier. Let's go. Methodical. Increase damage inflicted by this champion's default skill by 2%. Times used in the battle. Every time it's used in the battle, stacks across each round up to 10%. So this is a good one to have in long battles that you have for the clan boss or anything else, especially if you do good damage on your skill 1, because it's only increases their default skill. So use this, get this one. I think Methodical 10% increased damage on your skill 1 is very good. Very good for like Rosin Scarhide, where he's going to come in on a skill 1, do 3 hits based off of defense. Hopefully you have some crit in there. You've got really high defense. You're hitting very hard. And then eventually he's going to be hitting for 10% more damage on all those hits. So it is a very good one to have. Even PvE, doing all the waves, doing anything else, it's a good one to have. This one is a very good one to have. So we have Kill Streak. Increased damage inflicted by 6% in arena and 3% in all other locations for each enemy killed by this champion. Stacks across all up to 12%. Okay, so if you're not killing anybody, don't get this one. It's not going to do anything for you, right? Increased damage inflicted by 6%, 3% on all for each enemy killed. So you need to kill somebody. You need it to be on somebody that can kill people, and it's not going to do anything on the clan boss. It situational on waves. I mean, are you really going to get up to 12% if you're going to the dragon? Are you getting the killing blows? It just really all depends. So this one is up to you. It could be really good on people who really do some work on PvP, for sure. It can do some work and get your damage up there. Blood Shield gives you a shield. Whenever you kill somebody each round, it'll give you a shield equal to 15% of your champion's max HP. This is very good, again, for early and mid game. If you're coming in early mid game and you're getting the kills with your farmer, this can help them out and save them, because every time they take a turn, if they kill somebody, they will get another 15% HP shield. So it's good to go, right? It'll save you a lot. It saved me a lot coming up. I'm sure it will work for you. Also, if you have a fragile DPS kind of champion and you're going through waves, every time they get a kill, they get this. And even in PvP, this is very good to have. It will give you a shield, which is always handy. I mean, you can't pass up a 15% HP shield, especially if you're somebody like Sir Nick that's based damage all off of HP, has, you know, you load him up on massive HP, and then he can get a shield based off of that. So it's just crazy. Increased damage inflicted by 4% for each debuff on this champion, stacks up to 12%. I don't know a place, even on the clan boss, you don't get a lot of debuffs. You can get some, so you could use it there, sure. There aren't a lot of areas in this game where you actually take a lot of debuffs, other than if you're the main person getting attacked in spiders. And if you're getting all those debuffs, you're probably going to die soon, depending on what's going on. Or you'll have them removed, or who knows, whatever else is going on. So this one, again, is very situational. All right, let's get down to the end, because I know this is taking a long time. I apologize, but we're going over all of them, and then we're going to talk about the best ones to get really quick at the end. War Master. Everybody knows War Master and Giant Slayer. We'll go over both of those. So War Master, 60% chance to inflict an additional attack. Does not count as an additional hit. It is equal to 10% of the target's max HP, or 4% of the target's max HP if it's a boss. Very good to have. If you hit 1 or 2 times on your skill 1, get this. Also, it depends on if you hit multiple times on your skill 2 or 3, but usually if your skill 1 is a single target or it hits twice, you will get War Master. Excuse me. So as far as Giant Slayer, it's pretty much almost the same thing, right? If you hit 3 or more times, 3 or 4 or 5 times, you're going to get Giant Slayer, because it gives you a chance to proc 30% on each of those individual hits. So if you hit 3 times, each time you hit, you get a 30% chance to do an additional hit, which is 7.5 of the target's max HP, or 3% of the boss's HP. The difference in HP for the boss stuff doesn't really matter, 4%, 3%, especially for the clan boss. It doesn't matter, because for the clan boss, you're going to do the same amount of damage. They've kind of got it capped, so you're going to do the same amount of damage. Don't worry about it. As far as the champions, HP, and all that kind of stuff, again, it just depends on if your champion does multi-hit or doesn't. If it does 3 or more hits, get Giant Slayer. If it does 1 or 2 hits, get War Master. If their other abilities do a crazy amount of multi-hits and you hit 2 times on your skill 1, then you might want Giant Slayer. There are things on Reddit, you can go read about it, and you can see on your rotation on your champion how many hits does it do total, which would be better to get. But a simple rule is, if it hits 1 or 2 times on their skill 1, get War Master. If it hits 3 or more, get Giant Slayer. Now, these 2 skills are imperative to have on the clan boss. This is, I'll leave one of them up. This is where all your damage mainly comes from on there, along with poisons, decreased defense, you know, so you can do more damage with Giant Slayer and with War Master. Now, the things that increase Giant Slayer and War Master are decreased defense, weaken. That 25% additional weaken increases this damage. The decreased defense increases this damage. So you want those things on there if you can to increase the damage of your War Master and Giant Slayer. It will increase your damage by a lot. They are fantastic, just great to have on anything you do in PvE, no matter what. Get these 2 for the clan boss. Get these for any bosses you fight, any waves you fight, especially as you get higher up there. AoE champions do the same thing. If you AoE, they still have a chance on each of those AoE hits to proc this on those enemies they're facing and do a massive amount of damage. So you want this. If you have lifesteal gear and these proc, you will get healed off of that damage and get healed a crazy amount of health. So again, these things are the staple of the game. Once you reach level 60, you grind up in Minotaur, you come down here to War Master Giant Slayer, you run on over to clan boss and you start doing the clan boss, as well as it helps you with progression in the game. So you always want these 2. If I forgot anything, let me know down in the comments below. Now, as far as Helm Smasher, I've never seen this tested. I don't know of anybody who's gone and reset, you know, do like 100 battles and record your final end damage so we can see what each champion does. Reset all your guys, go to Helm Smasher, and then do, you know, like 20 more battles and see if they do comparable damage to having War Master or Giant Slayer. I don't know those numbers. It's 50% chance to ignore 25% defense. If this was 100% chance to ignore that defense, then I'd be more inclined to try it out, but I just don't want to try it out with it being like that. And I haven't heard anything great about it, so I don't know anything about that one. We'll just leave that one be. Flawless Execution does the mastery plus 20% critical damage. Now, this is the one you're going to use in PvP. And for some of your attack classes, depending on what they are, especially if you don't use them in the clan boss. If you use it in the clan boss, you're always going to go War Master or Giant Slayer for sure. Now, if you're outside of the clan boss and you're doing PvP with this champion, or you're doing waves, especially if you're doing 15 stuff, go with crit damage. This 20% crit damage will serve you the best overall for Zargala, for, you know, champions like that, and for all champions that do damage based on enemy max HP. It is the only thing that will increase damage on Cold Heart skill 3. It's all based on enemy max HP. Even with somebody like Royal Guard or Husk or any of those, Steel Boyar, any of those champions where really you're just using them for those skills. You're not really worried so much about their other skills doing massive amount of damage. You really want those skills to hit hard. The only way to increase somebody like Cold Hearts, because hers is just completely based off of enemy max HP, is to get crit and crit damage. So the more, obviously crit, but then crit damage. So the more crit damage you have, the harder that skill is going to hit no matter what. Of course, you want the enemy to have decreased defense. You want them to have weaken on so it can hit even harder. But the only way to increase that damage off of your champions there without having the debuffs is crit damage. So anybody that has a Cold Heart, you want to use this skill no matter what. You're not worried about her skill 1 and her skill 2 hitting massively harder. You only want her skill 3 to hit harder. So you're going to go for way more crit damage than you can. Just as much crit damage as possible. That's what you want. No matter what, crit damage, crit damage, crit damage. So anybody like, again, like I said, who did I say again? Royal Guard and all those champions, you want crit damage on them. And for PvP, you want crit damage. So that's really it. The most I would say that are 100% you need to pick for the offense tree. Crit damage. What was this one called? Bring It Down. If they have higher max HP than you, which almost everything will in the game. And then you're going to go with War Master, Giant Slayer, or the Flawless Execution, the 20% additional crit damage. Other than that, I really think everything can kind of be situational depending on PvP here. If you're going to do the Ruthless Ambush, if you think they're going to have shields, or anything else down the line, if your guy can do enough damage to do Cycle of Violence, it's all really up to you. I don't think I don't think you can really screw it up. I think if you get crit damage and you get these ones down here, it's really up to what your situation calls for and what you feel like doing as a player. You know, what do you want to pick? What skills do you want going down this line? Now that we've talked about it all, you can be like, huh, well, maybe I want this or I want that or I want that. And you're good to go. And you can come down here and get your War Master or Giant Slayer and you'll feel great about your picks and you'll have just as much fun and a good time and do just as much damage as everybody else out there. But that's all I've got for the offensive tree. I'm sure this video is way longer than I thought it would be. I appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all on the next video where we will go over defense and support. I'll see you then.